The historical record regarding the Middle Ages maintains a clear hierarchy. For centuries, the production of illuminated manuscripts, the era's most sophisticated art form, was considered the exclusive vocation of male monks working within prestigious scriptoria. But an archaeological find at the Dalheim Monastery in Western Germany challenges that narrative. Among the skeletal remains was individual B78, a woman between 45 and 60 years old. Her skeleton showed no signs of the heavy manual labor or trauma typical of the rural working class. This microscopic view shows the porous, crystalline structure of B78's dental calculus. This material acts as a biological archive. As plaque periodically calcifies during an individual's life, it creates a mineralized matrix capable of trapping a lifetime of environmental exposure. The process of biomineralization occurs when salivary fluids, supersaturated with calcium and phosphate, react with the microbial biofilm in the mouth. Within days, this reaction entombs microscopic debris, sealing it away from burial soil and post-mortem contamination for over a millennium. Deep within the anterior calculus of this specific woman, researchers discovered a dense cluster of brilliant ultramarine blue microcrystals. The presence of this specific mineral provides a direct link between a rural German monastery and the specialized craft of book production. It suggests that women were directly engaged in the physical labor of illumination, centuries before their involvement was officially recorded. To study these crystals, researchers faced a hurdle. Traditional archaeobiomics protocols typically destroy inorganic evidence. Standard methods use hydrochloric acid to dissolve the calculus and release organic remains like starch. Direct exposure to hydrochloric acid causes a violent chemical reaction that destroys the sulfur radical anions responsible for the color. This acid hydrolysis targets the mineral's framework. Within hours, the vibrant blue vanishes, leaving behind a bleached silica skeleton useless for spectrographic validation. To preserve the evidence, the team pioneered a mechanical isolation protocol, using high-frequency sound waves in ultra-pure water to induce acoustic cavitation. Microscopic vacuum bubbles violently collapse against the rigid calculus. The shock waves gently fracture the brittle matrix, releasing the entrapped particles intact without destructive chemicals. This completely non-destructive extraction protocol was wildly successful. From 9 milligrams of calculus, they isolated over 100 intact blue crystals for molecular analysis. In the 11th century, the palette of blue pigments was highly restricted. Most options, like azurite or Egyptian blue, were composed of heavy metals like copper or iron. To identify the Dalheim pigment, researchers turned to micro-Raman spectroscopy. By striking the specimen with a 532 nanometer green laser, they measured the energy shift of the scattered light to create a molecular structural fingerprint. The laser identifies the trisulfur radical anion, which is trapped and stabilized within a cage-like aluminosilicate lattice. This specific molecular vibration is the unmistakable signature of lapis lazuli. This complex lattice confirms the material is geologically sourced lazurite. Further analysis identified the presence of phlogopite, an accessory mineral that co-occurs with the stone, ruling out any synthetic substitute. To understand how the pigment entered the mouth, researchers mapped the oral cavity's anatomy. They found the crystals concentrated exclusively on the lingual surfaces of the anterior teeth, right behind the lips. This highly localized geographical distribution within the oral cavity is key. If inhaled or ingested as a medicine, it would have distributed evenly across the molars. Instead, the microscopic evidence strongly points to a repetitive, task-specific behavior. The most likely explanation is a technique described in historical manuals. To achieve a fine point, artists drew the animal hair bristles between their lips, depositing microscopic pigment fragments directly into their dental plaque. In the 11th century, gem-quality lapis lazuli came from effectively one place, the Sare Sang mines in the Hindu Kush mountains of Afghanistan. The extraction process required heating the rock faces with massive fires before quenching them with water to fracture the stone. From these high-altitude ravines, the raw stone traveled over 6,000 kilometers along the trade routes of the Silk Road. It moved via heavily guarded caravans through Persia and Byzantium toward the trading hubs of Europe. Arriving in the maritime republics like Venice, the stone was refined into a pigment called ultramarine. The grueling journey and complex purification made this substance more expensive than gold, a luxury strictly reserved for the most sacred elements of manuscript art. The biological record confirms this 11th century woman had direct, repeated access to a material that traveled halfway across the known world. Her role as an artisan made her a terminal point in a global network, handling a material that was virtually priceless. Lapis lazuli itself is biologically inert, but the rest of the medieval palette was not. Other colors were prepared using highly toxic heavy metals, including lead and mercury. If B78 was shaping her brush with her lips to apply blue, she was likely doing the same for the entire palette, exposing herself to lethal doses of metallic compounds and reactive sulfur over the course of her career. Written records may ignore the labor of women in the scriptorium, but the microscopic archives of their own bodies preserve the truth of their work and its cost.